We are back. Happy Wednesday. Slice of Life, episode 8. We're going to jump right in with our favorite social slice. Billy leads us off today and takes us to Mountain Time in Colorado.
Keith, you've frequently referenced your affinity and love for the Colorado area, so I did a deep dive and found some more information for you. Erica is a 9-year-old girl from Highlands Ranch in Colorado, and she started a unique arts and crafts project where she produced over 5,000 origami hearts with notes of appreciation and support written on them. Origami is something that I always wished I could do, but I have fat sausage fingers and no patience, so it was never really something that was up for my speed. So recently, Erica and the friends that she was working with delivered 2,000 hearts to the Swedish Medical Center. And Amy Klass, who's one of the nurses in the COVID unit there, did a TV interview afterwards where she said, I keep it in my pocket and it helps remind me that we are all in this together. And it reminds me why I'm working so hard and it gives me a boost of energy when I'm feeling tired. So this is the kind of thing that really strikes home with me, where you never know if you're going to say something or see somebody or just have a note in your window or, just email or text somebody and you're going to make their day and give them the motivation to keep doing what they're doing and fighting through all of this. So congratulations to Erica and all of her friends out there in Colorado that are doing this. And it's a great project and just another example of the good things and the happy things that are happening in this time.
Yeah, and a prime reason why we do this show, I saw that, and you kind of see some of these stories, the kids are doing things, but you say, oh, well, the parents are probably pushing them to do it, and some of these stories, the kids are just taking the reins. Origami is really, really hard, as you mentioned, and for these girls to say that at the end of that news story that they're just going to make an infinite amount it's heartwarming, because it's, you really feel that love, so that's awesome to see. My favorite social slice, you talked about Colorado. The reason I love Colorado is the Colorado Avalanche, because I love hockey. And sweet mother, this is pretty insane. From Brad Galley, ABC Detroit. Check out this kid from Livonia, Michigan.
But he did it on his own, and he did it on purpose. His parents tied a fishing line to a puck with a hole in it, and then Owen did the rest. What gusto in a young man. Plays for Little Caesars. The slow motion video does it all and tells the story. And Mom asks, did it work? Oh, you better believe it. It worked. That is a tough young man who's about to turn 9 years old. We actually featured him 2 years ago on our air. He's got some great moves. He's got a great...
This is Owen McGlinch, 8 years old. And Bill, the scariest part of this video was that the reaction of when his tooth comes out, he's just faceless. He has no reaction. I'm wincing watching this thing. This kid yanks his own tooth out in his backyard like it's nothing.
Yeah, I was basically doubled over in pain for this kid as it was happening. I've seen something like this before where the parents will tie it to a doorknob or put it on a bike and have their older brother race away or whatever. And it always terrifies me. And I know that I don't have the stomach for it. So to see an 8-year-old kid show me up and show how tough he is and how basically the species of hockey players, he's the perfect example of how tough those guys are. So it was a shake your head moment, but good for that kid.
Yeah. Just a different breed. We keep it in the Midwest and take on chicken parm heroes. Bill, we go to Ohio.
So the Cleveland Public Library has obviously been closed, as most public buildings have been throughout the country. But there's still a flurry of activity there, thanks in part to Brooklyn. Well, Brooklyn, Ohio. So on Monday, the library started to produce 3D face shields using their printers that are in their tech wing, and are donating them to the first responders and medical workers in the Cleveland area. Their hope is to produce 2,500 face shields, and all of the materials needed were donated by a Lowe's in Brooklyn, Ohio. So I always look for something good that ties in Brooklyn. This does in a very roundabout way, but a lot of these 3D printing things have been sort of a new trending thing that's been taking off. So it's cool to see. I saw a story on CBS Sunday Morning a couple of weeks ago where there was a company that they created this template and figured out how to do it. And then you just put it out on their equivalent of, Reddit or whatever, and all these 3D printing companies can go there, download the formula and the tech for it, plug it into their own 3D printers, and get it done. So it's a great thing that's been happening all over the country, and this was just another example of it.
Yeah, I went to school in Ohio, University of Dayton, and the first 2 weeks I was there, I met a really nice girl from Dublin. I was like, wow, this is great. I'm a world traveler. She's from Dublin, so cool. And then I found out there's a Dublin, Ohio. So that was kind of a
swing and a miss.
My chicken parm heroes come from Western Australia. Max and Greta, who have their own Instagram accounts, and then they have a kind of a medical Instagram account, both of them together. They were supposed to get married on Easter Saturday, but instead they were both working at the hospital to fight COVID-19. Geraldton Regional Hospital, you see this photo of them two together, saying it should have been our wedding day today, but here we are. Life has turned everybody upside down. Obviously, there's been more pain in stories like this, but Bill, I've got a wedding coming up in December. I have friends that are already postponing their summer weddings. This is pretty nuts to see people that are having to do that, but also because they're trying to keep people alive at the same time.
Yeah, this is becoming sort of another story that you're seeing a lot with people that are having to postpone life because of things. So it's terrible to see stuff like this happen, but it's always great to see how people adapt and move on with it.
Time for sports. Billy, you texted me about this today, and wow. Share the news.
Yeah, so this is sort of like it reminds me, this is random connection. When I was in college, you had to come up with some type of presentation for a public speaking course where you stood in front of everybody. It could be about anything you wanted. And there was a guy that I was friends with who made an entire presentation, 45 minutes, about how the entire world would be different if Babe Ruth never got traded from the Boston Red Sox to the New York Yankees, and how Boston would be the mecca of the universe, and the Yankees would never have won anything, and blah, 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 all this other stuff. So it sort of reminded me of that. But in the Wall Street Journal, they had an article about how if the San Francisco 49ers had won the Super Bowl, that the coronavirus outbreak in California would have been significantly worse. Here's why. So while the Super Bowl was going on, while the 49ers had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter against the Kansas City Chiefs, there were patients in emergency rooms in the San Francisco area who were being treated for coronavirus in the early days of it, the early outbreak, the early introduction into the United States. So these people were in San Francisco, out in their communities, out in public, living their lives. So they were spreading, community spread throughout the area. So had the 49ers won the Super Bowl, as is the norm when teams win the Super Bowl, there's a giant parade with millions of people that get together. So in San Francisco, you would have had the coronavirus outbreak that was already taking place, and people were already infected with it, gathered in close quarters, watching a Super Bowl parade, and infecting each other without even knowing that it was going on because of all the asymptomatic stuff and all that other stuff. So it was just a crazy story to read, and it sort of details what could have happened and how we're lucky that Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs pulled a fourth quarter comeback for the ages to win the Super Bowl. And just a crazy what-if story, but it was very interesting to read.
Yeah. I mean, just scary because it's like now you're seeing some shows pop up. Like Man in the High Castle is one of my favorites, to show hunters of like what life would be like if the U.S. or the Allies lost World War II, and what would that look like? That's so freaky to think about, man. I can't believe you found that story because it's true. I mean, that's the last thing you want. Is the opposite is social distancing, and then the opposite of that is millions of people flood the streets. So my sports story of the day, Bill, just the other night I watched The Scheme on HBO. You mentioned that you're a massive college basketball fan. I am as well. Both the places that we went to school happen to be in the same basketball conference, so it's a true Atlantic 10 rivalry on this show. But The Scheme basically is the college, or the most recent college basketball scandal that I remember the day I was sitting on my parents' living room. It was like a weekend. It was like the FBI just came out with, or a reporter said that the FBI had Sean Miller on tape saying that they bribed players to come to Arizona, yada, yada, yada. It was over. Everybody's going down. And then all of a sudden, nothing happens. And The Scheme is I guess, 90-minute, 2-hour special that tells you what happened, and it's nuts.
Yeah, this was the kind of thing where when I watched it, and then you know sort of how it played out, because like you were saying with the Sean Miller stuff, this was 2 seasons ago. This is when DeAndre Ayton was there, and he was on tape. There was all this stuff about he was FBI wiretaps where Sean Miller was talking about paying this guy and paying that guy, and he didn't coach for like a couple games, and Ayton didn't play for like a day, and then everything was back to normal. LSU and Will Wade was basically challenged the school and said, prove that I did this. I'm going to come back and coach. So he didn't coach for a couple of days, but it's kind of, you watched it and you know how it plays out, and you just shake your head and you're like, there's so much stuff here. Why isn't this a bigger deal? And it was very, very well done. Most of the HBO sports stuff that they do is always well done. So well worth your time, especially if you're a college basketball fan, but also very head shaking as to why it wasn't a bigger story.
Yeah, and the FBI corruption that's involved too that you just didn't see coming, that completely derails the whole investigation. Bill, Slice of Life, episode 8 done. You feeling good? You feel like you're just ripping things off left and right? Got stories? You're enjoying the FaceTime, the celebrity of this whole thing?
Oh yeah, definitely the celebrity of it. We're hitting our stride, man. You know, it's all about a routine. You get yourself in a routine, life becomes a lot easier. So far so good. Hopefully people are liking it.
And again, a big thank you to Brendan Bowling, who is putting this whole thing together, the graphics and producing, cutting and editing. We say thank you to him, and we say we'll see you on Thursday for another Slice of Life.